Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I want to tell you first and foremost, I'm wearing a hat mainly because my hair is all kinds of jacked up. Super big cowlick back here, can't do anything with it. Of course, I need a haircut very soon. On top of that, I need to shave in a little bit. But anyway, I have started the Hall of Horrors Goosebumps series. There were 6 of these books, and a lot of people really enjoy them. I've had a lot of people recommend them to me. I've heard some stinkers are out there, mainly from my friend Completionist, who told me about that here on YouTube. Goosebumps Completionist, that is. But anyway, I finally read the first one. I've had a lot of people wanting me to read. I think it was this one and another one constantly. I've had people recommend it just endlessly to me. And I actually was very surprised with how much I enjoyed this one. It's book number 1 of Goosebumps Hall of Horrors. I cannot talk today to save my life. I didn't record it all this weekend, so I didn't have much of a practice for that. But anyway, this particular book is book number 1, Claws. Dude, this cover here is fantastic. I was curious if this is going to kind of suck as like a cat-themed Goosebumps book. Some of these can be good if it's like an animal or like a pet-themed or whatever, but this one, to me, was probably one of the best out there, if not the very best of like the pet-themed or like animal-themed type of Goosebumps books. This was super fun. I had a great time reading this. I could not possibly recommend it enough to you. So what is Claws about? By the way, just before I get too far into this, I think there was maybe a very small release of these books for number 1, Claws, that came out years ago. It was supposed to be the next book of the Horrorland series, at the very tail end of it. But apparently they changed it into its own series called Hall of Horrors, which I really like. You start off essentially with the beginning and the very end of it. There's some person, I don't know who it is, but he's kind of like in a haunted house castle type of thing. And he invited you in, I think is what it basically was implying, and talking about these pictures of all these kids on the walls that had these horrible stories and whatever. And then there's one kid named Mickey that's our main character in the actual book that happens to be sitting in front of the fireplace warming up. It looks kind of sad and dreary. And basically, you're told the story through Mickey's perspective, first person, and he talks about how he and his best friend Amanda were basically told they had to, not that they had to, but they could get paid to do essentially a cat-sitting job for one of the neighbors. And when those two leave to go on their cruise for like 5 or 6 days, they're taking care of the cat, the main chick and our main character, Mickey. And while they're taking care of the cat, one day they happen to leave the door open, and the cat runs out into the street and actually gets ran over by a truck. At this point, when I was reading this, a lot of similarities were starting to pop up that reminded me a lot of 2 things. Number 1 is Cry of the Cat, the first ever Series 2000 Goosebumps book that also has a TV episode you guys might have seen if you haven't read that book. Pretty good read, pretty good episode, has some goofy elements to it, but I like a lot of it. I love most of it. The other thing is Pet Sematary by Stephen King, which I've run into a lot of R.L. Stine, Stephen King kind of feeling rip-offy type books. Not that this is a full-fledged rip-off of Pet Sematary, but it's bizarre enough and very much themed enough that you could argue that. But anyway, this book has a lot of Pet Sematary in it. And essentially when this cat gets killed, the body disappears, and nobody really knows what happened. The kids assume that the trucker who ran over the cat took the body with him when they weren't looking or whatever, not in like a mean-spirited way, just to try to make sure the kids didn't have to pick up the dead thing that he killed by accident. At this point, I was a little in shock by how kind of shockingly horrific the situation was for these kids, and that's like in the first 20 pages of the book, and I was like, that's a lot of stuff to happen that early on. What are we going to get with another part of this book being so kind of on the meatier side of Goosebumps? This is about 130 pages, so I was like, where are we going with this? The kids decide, instead of just being honest to the owners, they decide to try to do some kind of goodwill thing, but it's also kind of wrong, by going to this place called Cat Heaven, which is a store. And ironic, on top of that, they go into Cat Heaven, they're looking around at the different cats, there's a ton of black cats at this shelter place, and they can't really find one that looks identical to what this cat they were taking care of looked like. And eventually they sneak their way into a back room that happens to have more cats, but it says on the door to this room that you're not allowed in here. To stay away, customers are not allowed, staff only, something like that. They go inside, they happen to find a cat that looks, I mean, absolutely identical to the other cat. It has the same color eyes, the same type of ears, like the perkiness of them, the same frame, the same build, not too fat, not too skinny, anything like that. And they're kind of shocked, and they're like, okay, well, we need this one. Well, kind of a janitor dude catches them in there and talks to them briefly. They end up grabbing the cat out of this thing and running insanely out of here trying to basically steal the cat. And they do basically steal the cat, with another big rigmarole they have to go through. Anyway, they get away. That hit my teeth. Did you hear that? Ow. It didn't hurt as bad. I'm a wuss. Anyway, they steal the cat. They go on kind of a run all the way home, or at least to our main character Mickey's home, to drop off the cat at that neighbor's house. And the cat seems fine. This particular cat is very cool and calm and collected, very sweet. And then, in the middle of the night, it seems like he keeps hearing a cat in his room, and he can't figure out what's up with that. There must be something more to this cat that they stole. And it kind of goes in a supernatural element, very much and very similar, as I said, to Pet Sematary by Stephen King. But it's also maintaining to be really fun, really eerie. There's a lot of horrific stuff in here. One particular scene that same night involves fish. And I'm going to be honest with you. You guys have heard me say this. I hate fish. It's one of the biggest reasons why I hate the ocean and hate going to the beach. The beach is awesome. I don't care what beach you go to. It's usually pretty cool. But I'm going to tell you right now, I hate fish. And I've had bad experience after bad experience with fish harassing me. I know it sounds like a weird, whiny thing to say, but I'm not a fan of that stuff. Not afraid of water, just afraid of fish. I don't like them, man. You can imagine what it's like watching Jaws with me. My wife loves it. Anyway, so there's a scene involving fish. Our main character, Mickey's pet fish. He has 3 of them. And it was so horrifically gruesome. That was probably one of the most horrific things I've ever read in a Goosebumps. And you really don't see the action. That kind of happens off screen. But the aftermath of what you find, and you probably can guess to kind of what I'm saying, but I guarantee you can't guess I can't talk. I'm so sorry. It's a long day so far. I guarantee you can't guess the details of this particular situation. It is horrific, and it's horrific to people like me who are terrified of fish too. That really got to me. It actually kind of made me squirm a little bit in my chair when I was reading over there a little bit earlier, and it was great. I loved that about it. And like I said, a lot of this book is kind of like that. It's a very dark Goosebumps book. I could see this being like a Series 2000 book. There's not really a whole lot of humor to it. Just a little bit, like Amanda, the main character's best friend. She keeps saying these weird things. Like, she might be like, oh, if the cat's not moving a whole lot, she'll be like, oh, it's as still as an artichoke. And weird things like that, always comparing everything to vegetables. Very odd. But I have to tell you overall, there's not really a whole lot to talk about with this, and I don't want to tell you too much more. But I'm going to tell you, I loved this. I thought it was really good. It's not great or anything, but when it comes to something like comparing this with like Cry of the Cat from Series 2000, I love this way more. I think this is way better than Cry of the Cat, and that might sound like a sin to a lot of you, but to me, I think it's very, very justifiable. I like the supernatural elements better. I like the horrific Pet Sematary-esque feel to this book a lot of the time. I like a lot of the themes to this book, and just the kind of things revolving around cats. Some of that stuff is truly, like, kind of horrific. There's a lot of dead animals in this book, whether you include the cat or not. There's a lot of dead things in this book that kind of shocked me a little bit, that they were able to get away with that, and like PETA didn't throw a massive fit about this being a children's book with a lot of dead animals in it. But, it is what it is. Anyway, I really enjoyed this. I don't really know what else to say to you about it, not like I need to, but when it comes to Goosebumps Hall of Horrors #1, Claws, this is a fantastic start to this series. I'm really excited to read through these. I don't know if at some point halfway through or whatever this week, maybe I'll review Slappy Beware, or read it and then review it if I have the time. It's going to be a very busy week, just so you know. But Slappy Beware from the Slappy World series, I really want to get to that at some point, so I think I might somewhere around book 3 of this series, maybe book 4, jump in, read that book, and then come back to review the rest of these. But we'll see what happens. That might be more of next week than anything. But when it comes to Goosebumps Hall of Horrors #1, Claws, do I recommend it? As I said over and over again, if you like the darker, kind of scary Goosebumps books, not really the humorous, silly types of Goosebumps books. If you like more of the darker stuff that's really taking itself serious, this is a fantastic one. If you're a big fan of Series 2000, like I said, Cry of the Cat or otherwise, this is a really good one too, and I really, really recommend it to that particular audience if you guys like that kind of thing. It really, I think this will stick with me. This might end up being like my favorite of the series, the Hall of Horrors series, because of how much I loved this book and how fun it was and just creepy and eerie it was. It almost has like this, I don't really know what to compare it to. I don't really know what to compare it to. It's not just Pet Sematary, it's not just Cry the Cat. There's another element of another movie or something I've seen that's very well known in horror that I cannot place what it was that it reminds me of. But anyway, when it comes to Claws, if I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I would easily give this a 4 out of 5 stars. It's such a good read. It's so much fun and eeriness. I loved everything about this book, and I could not recommend it more to you. So have you read Claws? What do you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you all have to say about such a fun read like this, dude. I didn't expect this to be as good as it was because there's a cat on the cover, you know, and this green background with the brick wall. I'm assuming this is Brandon Dorman, right? I assume. I wasn't expecting much, and for it to be a canceled Horrorland book, I was kind of surprised too. This is better than a lot of Horrorland, if I'm being honest with you, at least in my personal taste. Anyway, 4 out of 5 stars, really enjoyed this, would love to hear what you guys have to say about this and the Hall of Horror series down in the comment section down below, but like I said, my goal this week is to really work my way through a lot of these Hall of Horrors books. I won't finish them this week, I'm going to be too busy for that, unfortunately, but I do want to kind of let you guys know ahead of time, because you guys know I've been trying to get through these Goosebumps books pretty quickly. This is, like, after this book I have 8 left, right? Like 8 books in total, my entire collection left for Goosebumps to review. I pretty much reviewed every series but Hall of Horrors. I haven't finished up Slappy World yet. Of course, there's still 2 more coming out after Slappy Beware. And, of course, you have the autobiographies. You have... I think that's really it. We have about 8 more books to review for the channel. And I'm excited to see what you guys have to say about a lot of those, because some are kind of rare, some are kind of not. But anyway, tomorrow, I have a class at work that I have to go to very early. So I basically have to get up out of bed, grab something to eat, you know, take my wife to her car and whatever, let her go to work, you know, say goodbye, wave, all that good stuff, kiss her. And then I need to basically come back in, get ready, and go straight to work for this class because it's so early in the day. I'm not mentally prepared for that. Today is Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. I hope I get some more sleep by then, which also means tonight when I come home, I have to go straight to bed. What I'm trying to tell you is tomorrow I'm not going to have the time to read anything, much less review and record any kind of reviews for you guys. So I'm sorry about that. You know, I hope I have enough that I've uploaded the last 3 or 4 weeks for you guys to kind of have something to go back to. But at least you'll have this too in case you missed it on Monday or today, whatever. You can go back and watch this, something like that. But yeah, for now, eventually I will get back around to getting some more videos. Hopefully Wednesday I'll have enough sleep from Tuesday night, because it's going to be a long day. That's going to be like a 12-hour day. I've never worked that before, which I know it's, you know, I don't mean to whine or anything, but I've never done that before, so it's going to be kind of different for my brain to kind of mentally work around that. With it being late hours and everything, it's going to be a lot. So, and with the things I deal with in management, it's going to be tricky. So, with all that being said, it's going to be a little dry on the channel tomorrow. But Wednesday, I hope to come back, have some content for you. I can't promise it, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get some stuff out for you. You will have a couple more videos, God willing, by the end of this week from me. At some point. Hopefully maybe 3, if I can get around to reading 3 more books later in the week. But we'll see what happens. That's something to worry about later on. Anyway, with all that being said, guys, I really hope you have a great day. Just hang in there. I'll be back in a couple of days, hopefully. We'll see what happens. But with that being said, what did you think about Claws? What do you think about the Hall of Horrors? Once again, put all your thoughts and comments down below. This channel is going to be done in the next few weeks, and I'm really excited about that. There's a lot of stuff happening with work in the coming weeks, and that's going to be really busy. Of course, we're getting into, like, getting closer to springtime, so things are starting to pick up a little bit. Manufacturing does that, but just be ready. I want to get a lot of this stuff out for you guys and really talk about it with you, and then kind of have just summertime actually available this year to kind of do what I want to do, try to get a lot done, you know, whatever. There's some things coming up in Rachel and I's life that we're going to try to do later on. You know, it's going to be pretty cool, pretty exciting, but that's a whole nother ballpark of crazy. So I got a lot going on this year, as you guys can tell. But anyway, how do you guys feel about the Claws book? What do you think about it? Hopefully you'll forgive me for missing a couple of days, or at least one the next couple of days. Next week's going to be busy with appointments I have to catch up on, so it's going to be interesting. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.